and welcome to the Chicago Money Show. We help you get informed, feel engaged, and have fun with your finances. I'm your host, Bridget Sullivan Mermel. I own a fee-only financial practice in Chicago. Today, we're going to be talking about two things. First, summer's hot, so is the Chicago real estate market. Then we love fun. Nothing says money and fun like the word free. So we'll be talking with YouTuber Louis Gusto about free things you can do as you start exploring Chicago again. So first, let's talk real estate. Our guest is Kyle Harvey. Kyle's a realtor with Barrett & Warner, Chicago's oldest real estate brokerage. She helps buyers and sellers and focuses on the city's north side neighborhoods. She and a colleague have a weekly Facebook Live show on what's happening in the Chicago market every Monday morning at 7:30 a.m. And it's also available on her YouTube channel, Kyle Harvey Shy. That's CHI. Kyle, welcome to the Chicago Money Show.
Hi, Bridget. It's good to see you.
So you say that the Chicago real estate market is getting back to a normal. What's that mean?
Well, we've had a really hot 12 months with the COVID changes that have been brought by everyone wanting to move and by the really low interest rates that still abound. And first-time home buyers have been out, luxury people have been out buying, and it's just been a crazy, crazy 12 months, especially in the lower and higher ends, not so much in the center of the city. But normally the market goes hot, it's quiet in the start of the year, gets really hot in the spring, quiets as people do other things, as Louis is going to talk to us about in the summer, and then heats up again in the fall. The last year, it's just been hot, and around and hot. And now it's starting to look like a normal August where people have other things to do and they're doing them.
Yeah. So do you think that people need to act?
One of the things that's been enormously frustrating to buyers in this past period of total hotness has been that they've gone to look at a property and bam, it's sold. I mean, it just sells immediately. And they don't have time to reflect. In 2019 and 2018, you could go home and think for a week, look at other things, and then say, you know what, I do want that house.
Right. Now
you've got to come out of the showing and say, yes, no, make an offer. And that's frightening and frustrating. So yes, now in August, now that things have slowed down a bit, before it starts to heat up in September and October, I would start to act because you'll have a little more time. You'll have a little less competition.
So it sounds like, so you're saying buyers act if you're interested. How about sellers? Like say, I talk to a lot of people who are thinking about maybe putting their property up for sale. What do you think they need to act? Like, is now a good time to act? What do you think? I
do. I think now is a very good time to plan to put your property on the market because it's not like you just call a broker and tomorrow the property goes on the market. There are steps you need to take. And sometimes those steps involve somebody having to come over and fix something. They take you going through your stuff and culling out all the extra stuff. I mean, my home right now, I couldn't show that to a buyer. So there's just a lot of prep work that needs to be done. And the market is likely to start getting hot in September. So if you want to be one of the properties that lots of buyers are looking for, you got to start acting now if you're a seller.
That makes a lot of sense. And what do you think about prices? So do you say you're a seller and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to retire at some point, or I'm working less, and now is a good time. The next year or 2 or 3 is a good time for me to sell. What do you think about? Do you think if they wait, prices will be the same, or do you think maybe prices are going to go down?
I don't think prices are going to go down. Actually, none of the experts are expecting prices to drop. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons is we're not building enough housing. There's not enough stuff to sell. Mm-hmm. 1, 2, Chicago never had the run up that other cities did. We've always been at the last in the list of major metropolitan areas for price appreciation. So Chicago is one of the, even though we've had about 14% growth over the past 16, 18 months, everywhere else has had like 25% growth. So, I mean, Chicago, while it feels like, wow, we're on fire, we're so not on fire compared to other places. So there you go. But yes, prices will begin to rise, but maybe there won't be the same hotness. Right now, sellers can sell like that. And who doesn't want to, when you put your house on a market, you don't want it to sit on the market for 6 months. You want it to sell in 30 days. And if you want that experience, now's the time.
Oh, okay. So you're saying, think about what you want the experience to be like when you sell. And if you want it to be selling pretty quickly, now's a good time. That was a very good time way to think about it. So I love your hidden gems. Let's talk about those. So tell me, it seems like these are properties that people it's kind of out of their radar. They might not be thinking about this type of property. Tell me about those.
Well, so there are sort of two types of what realtors call attached properties, what you would and I would call buildings, condos, apartment buildings. So there are two types. There's one called condominiums, and the other type is called cooperatives or co-ops.
Okay, so let's talk about co-ops in a second. We've got a caller. Caller, can you tell us your first name and what neighborhood you're calling from?
My name is Rob, and I'm calling from Smith Park. I have a question. I'm a longtime renter, and I'm interested in buying, but the housing market's so expensive, and I never did before. Can you give me some tips about buying a home for the first time, where I should be looking, what I should be doing? Any advice would be great.
That's a great question, Rob. And it's interesting because I can give you a couple tips, and Kyle will give you a couple tips too. So my first tip is trying to have 20% down. So save up a bunch. Oh, Kyle's saying no, but I'm a financial planner and she's a realtor. Okay. So, so we have a difference of opinion on that. And so 20% down, and look at how much you make, and think 2.5 times how much your household income is. And that's what I think will be comfortable. Now, Kyle, we'll have some different ideas.
I have different ideas.
Go ahead. Go ahead. What are your
a couple of things. So first of all, renters, and Bridget will tell you this, their net worth is so much less than homeowners.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So this is something that is really smart for you to start thinking about for yourself. So good. There are, the first thing I would do if I were you is to contact a mortgage originator, a loan broker. There are a ton, you've heard of all these companies, Guaranteed Rate. I've got some of the other, Baird Warner has one. There are a bunch of really great companies that can advise you on all the products. Now, I was shaking my head when Bridget said you need 20% down. In a market that's rising, you're soon, let's say you put 10% down, let's say you put 5% down. Soon you're going to have 20% equity because the value of your property, once you buy it in a couple of years, will be 20%, and you'll stop paying the PMI mortgage insurance. So I think you talk to a mortgage broker and talk to your financial planner, because there are things you can do. And to get in with these low interest rates, what's the expression? The perfect is the enemy of the good. Right now, the good is a 3% mortgage.
Right. That's good. Yeah.
So the first thing is get pre-approved for a mortgage.
Awesome. So let's go back to our attached property. So we were talking about hidden gems.
Okay. So for hidden gems, everyone knows about condos, but not everyone knows about co-ops. Co-ops are just a different way developers finance the building of the property, and one's a condo, one's a co-op. And so I brought two, and people think, oh, co-ops are those fancy apartments on Lakeshore Drive. And yeah, there are fancy apartments on Lakeshore Drive, but there are also some hidden gems. And I chose one from the north side. Well, there's one in Hyde Park. So this is a co-op in Hyde Park. And you can see it's this great older building. What I liked about this unit and thought this would be fantastic is, as you see from the second shot, that's a private outdoor balcony patio. How great is that? It's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, about 1,000 square feet, but with this beautiful private outdoor space.
And so tell me what's different about this versus a condo. Like, how is this type of, what is being I'm sorry, the name escapes me. How does that change versus being a regular condo, a co-op?
Okay, so a condo, you get a deed to a piece of property, and the piece of property is the unit. So let's say this was a condominium to that, and I think it's unit 106. Yeah, it's unit 106. You get a deed to that property. So that is what you get with a condo. And when you get a mortgage, the mortgage is secured by the deed. So it's you get a legal piece of property like you get for a house. You get that for a condo. A co-op.
Okay, hold that thought. We'll talk about a co-op in a second because we have another call. Great caller. Can you tell us your first name and your neighborhood?
Yeah, I'm Bill. I live in Smith Park.
Great.
And I'm curious. So you said that you have to be ready to make an offer as soon as you've signed a property. So could you kind of go over what steps I need to do so I'm ready before I start looking?
Yes. And that is, again, the point about getting pre-approved for a mortgage. So the thing that sellers want to see with your offer is a letter from the mortgage broker, the loan originator, that you have been pre-approved, that the loan will go through. You have enough funds to follow through with the contract that once you have an offer and the offer is accepted, there's a contract, and it will tell the seller that, yeah, this guy can buy it. And so that is, and it also helps you understand how much you can afford, because a lot of people think they can afford a whole lot less than they actually can afford because they haven't done the math, and a loan originator will do the math with you.
And they forget about all the different costs that might be involved. Okay, so I do want to finish up with a real quick lightning minute second about the co-ops. And then we're going to move on to Lewis.
Okay, co-ops are a corporation, and when you own a unit in a co-op, you own shares of stock, and you get a lease to the unit.
And it seems like the prices can be less.
They are, because it's harder to get a mortgage sometimes for that.
Okay, and I just know from personal experience. I had a friend who had one, and the price was, it was a much more accessible way to get in the housing market. Okay, great. So I think we're going to move on to our next guest. This is Louis Gusto, and he's going to be back in a second. Just hang on a second, and we'll be right back with Louis Gusto to find out fun, free things to do in Chicago and help everybody save some money. Thanks, Kyle. On this show, we want to help you save money. One big way to save money is by taking advantage of all the things around Chicago that are free. I know that's one thing that I've always loved about Chicago. Joining me to talk about fun things to do for free in Chicago, as we're opening up from COVID, is YouTuber Louis Gusto. Louis, people are still starting to emerge, and a lot of people want to take it one step at a time. What's free in Chicago that doesn't involve big crowds?
Well, hi, Bridget, and thank you for having me on your show. It's great to be here. When you're talking about free things that are fun to do in Chicago, at the top of the list is our amazing park system. Lincoln Park, which is our biggest park, spans several neighborhoods, multiple miles all along beautiful Lake Michigan, that there are so many things to do within the park. One specific thing that I personally love is the Alfred Caldwell Lily Pool. It's basically a small enclave within the park. It's very peaceful. It's a National Historic Landmark. It's prairie design, so it's very appropriate for our area, not just in architecture, but the nature, all native plants. It's completely free to go. They do have set hours, but I believe they're open every single day. It's a great place to read, to meditate, just kick back and relax, take some nice photos or whatever. Lincoln Park, though, beyond that, has so many free things to do within the park.
Yeah, and I heard that they've got parking, free parking, because again, we're talking about free on Stockton. And then if you want to cough up the money to pay for parking, you can go in the zoo parking lot too.
Correct, yeah.
And that brings us to Lincoln Park Zoo.
Yes, also completely free.
Yeah.
One of the last free zoos in the United States.
Interesting.
And always a great time, in my opinion.
Right. And also still open during COVID is the National Museum of Mexican Art.
Yes, many people know the Art Institute. Maybe art connoisseurs will know the Museum of Contemporary Art. But kind of what flies under the radar, in my opinion, is the National Museum of Mexican Art located in the Pilsen neighborhood. That is completely free. If your heart so desires, you can leave a donation or maybe pick something up from the gift shop, but otherwise it is completely free. They have some great permanent exhibits as well as rotating exhibits, and the art's very colorful, it's very expressive, and the surrounding neighborhood is great too. You can make that an entire day trip.
Yeah, it's 1852 West 19th Street. That sounds like that's a lot of fun, and it's awesome that they reopened. Also, you were telling me about a walking tour of University of Chicago that's self-guided, so there's easy ways to avoid people there. But Tell me more about doing that.
Yeah, so the University of Chicago, which dates back to 1893, has a beautiful campus. You have collegiate Gothic architecture as well as some newer contemporary buildings. And you can go right onto the University of Chicago website, download the free PDF to give yourself a self-guided walking tour. On the PDF, you will get all the great spots to hit, as well as the explanations and the history behind the buildings. They have the quad. To me, that's the classic area. But if you go a little bit further beyond that, you can find some nice public sculptures. And the library building is also very nice. It's kind of like almost like a spaceship landed and parked itself inside the lawn. But yeah, that is also completely free. Also, while you're there at University of Chicago, you can go to the Oriental Institute, which has some great Middle Eastern artifacts. You can learn all about the cultures from ancient times all the way up to modern.
Yeah, I've been there too. They've got great Egyptian art too, and Egyptian artifacts. Garfield Park Conservatory. Tell me more about that.
Garfield Park Conservatory is one of the biggest in the country. It's our nicest conservatory. It's right off the Green Line. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have a car, you're saving money that way, like I am. You can take the Green Line there. You get off. That is completely free. A beautiful way to reconnect with nature. We live in a busy city with pollution and noise and just the busyness of everyday life. So kind of getting in the conservatory with the peaceful water fountains, the little ponds in there. That dates back many years, and it's just been a favorite of Chicagoans for a long time.
All right. So also Chicago Public Library. Now, I got to admit, this is one of the things that I love too. I love the downtown Chicago, the Harold Washington Library. I mean, all the libraries really are great places to go for free, but the Harold Washington Library I specifically enjoy. So why don't you tell me more about that?
That is the main branch of our library system, which is definitely world-class. It has an interesting start. This main branch was built in the 90s. For about 20 years, we didn't have a central branch for our librry. Our books were kind of just stored in random places.
Well, and they had it at the Cultural Center for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and so this one was built, and you obviously can go there and you read. There, in addition to books, there are movies. You can go and get newspapers. There's a special section just for city history. You can go and take a deep dive into that. Also on the top floor, they have a winter garden. Basically, it's a free observatory in Chicago. So you can go up there. It's glass enclosed. They call it the winter garden because it's kind of just this year-round thing, and they have plants up there as well. But that's a great thing to do. It's completely free. There's no other observatory that you're going to be able to go to in the city that's not going to charge you money. If there is one, I don't know about it.
When I've ever been up there, I've never run into another person. I haven't been. I think they have events there too, but I have never. It's a huge open space. It's very cool. I love that space too.
Yeah, people forget that you can rent movies for free at the library.
Right. The good point. And they've got a maker space too. So that's more for kids, but also for grownups too, with 3D printers, et cetera. So there's a lot of fun, cool stuff to explore there. Okay. So now let's say you're comfortable moving into more crowded spaces. So these are spaces, the last spaces that we went over, social distancing, I wouldn't say that's a big factor, but let's say we're vaccinated, interested in going out a little bit more, venturing out into crowds. Okay, let's talk festivals. So you were telling me about the Uptown Art Fair. That's August 6th through the 15th. Correct.
So that starts today, goes through the 15th. Basically, it's a big art fair in Uptown. There's going to be local businesses participating, and there's also a self-guided interactive map, so you can go and see all the public art that's in Uptown. Some of it's temporary, some of it's a little bit more permanent, but that's definitely a great thing to do. Festivals in general in Chicago are great. Some of them do charge to get in. Some of them just ask for a donation. And so in other words, they're free, but it's a great space to listen to live music, get food. Sundays on State would be another great festival. I personally went there a couple of weeks ago and I absolutely loved it. I would love to see the city make this a permanent thing, because just to be on that historic street with all the great buildings and just to see the people out and about, local businesses, like the original Marshall Fields, which is now Macy's, but there's also the Berghoff restaurant was there. Harold's Chicken was there. It's just a great vibe to be amongst the city and just experience the culture, and it is completely free, which is great.
Well, I saw they listed, I haven't gotten to it yet, not yet, but they listed ballet dancing, drumming, bands, yoga, and the Marines. So that is a pretty...
Yeah. When I went, there was opera.
Oh, interesting. It's different every week. You can check it out in, I believe it's loopchicago.com. And there's a week, there is one on August 8th, but there is skipping August 15th. But then they're back on every Sunday until September 12th. Okay. So now let's talk back into the parks. Millennium Park. We've got the Millennium Park Summer Music Series, which is more of like international. And then we've got the Grant Park Music Festival, which both of these play in the Pritzker Pavilion. The Grant Park Music Festival is an annual classical event.
Nice.
I don't know if you've got any more information about those.
I don't, but I've been to Millennium Park when there were music festivals, and it is nice. I mean, technically, speaking of concerts, this is a low-key free event, but whenever Wrigley Field is having a concert, if you just walk by, you could listen to the music for free. I think they've got I don't know who they've got coming. Romeo Santos.
Okay, and I know they have the some Grateful Dead lineage concert coming up too. I'm not sure, and that is coming up in September. So yeah, that's a very popular around. You can, and people people seem to like kind of camp out there, so not camp out, but it's like it's a scene.
Yeah. And it's you just hang out outside. You can bring food and drink from home and listen to some popular music.
Yeah. Another thing I've done personally, which I really like, is movies in the park. So in the movies in the park, you have to check what's going on, right? And they, like in the park that I go to most of the time, they usually have 3 a year, and this year they had 2. That's fine. And they generally start at dusk, and a lot of them are more kid oriented. Well, they're more family movies, but then sometimes they have classics. But I found that it's really fun to go to. I have a great time. And if you go with kids, they can, it starts at sunset. So that can be like 8:30, 9. So they're staying up late. They're happy. And, it's a fun family event. If you're like me and old, you can take a chair or just try to handle, but you can bring out a blanket. And so then your whole family can be on the blanket. And another great way to kind of stay in your pod and socially distance.
Yeah, that sounds great. Movies in the park. I think that's such a cool concept.
It's really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially with the weather that we have in the summer, where it's usually not super hot.
Right. And it's surprising when I've gone to movies in the park, even like I went to see Little Mermaid one year, and it was surprising how many, like the age range that was there. It wasn't just families either. So some of these classic movies are really fun to check out, even for older people, grown-ups, and it's free. So, and usually the parking isn't a crazy situation either. At least, again, in the parks that I go to, you can find parking too if you happen to drive there.
Yeah, there are really a lot of free things that you can do in the city. You can basically plan entire weekends and not spend other than food and transportation.
That would be a really good goal, wouldn't it? Like, let me go for the weekend and not spend any money. Okay, so with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks to Kyle Harvey and Louis Gusto for being guests on our show today. My name is Bridget Sullivan Mermel, and I own a fee-only financial planning firm. If you've got questions on this episode or for future episodes, please email us at ask@chicagomoneyshow.com. Thanks for watching.